Hello, in this episode of Hooping with Hazel, we look at an endless machine embroidery design, which you can download for free when you become a member of the Graceful Embroidery group forum. Today, we're going to play around with an endless design. Every month, members of my Graceful Embroidery group forum get a free design. And along with downloading this, I like to give them some information or teach them a new technique. So today, we have this design here, which I have created using elements from the Royal Heirloom collection. It's an endless design. That means it can be put alongside itself and created a panel as long as required. Now I've opened this design up in my Premiere Plus 2 in the Modify module, which I like to do my editing in. And it's open in a 240 by 150mm hoop. But I've changed the orientation to rotated so that it's sitting landscape, and then we have room to copy and paste the design. Now you'll notice if we scroll through this that we have this shape here of red stitches that goes round the design. These are my outline alignment stitches, and the purpose of these is to give you an outline of where the embroidery is going to be. So if you stitch this shape out on just your stabilizer, you have a shape, and you can use that to align your fabric or your garment correctly. And this is especially useful if you are embroidering on a garment and you want to make sure the embroidery is in exactly the right place. And it's also very good for aligning one design against previous embroidery. The next colour to stitch out is a box. It's just a box of running stitches, a basting box. And when the fabric is in position and attached with pins or temporary adhesive spray, which is my preference, but please be careful how you use it, this box will secure the fabric in place on top of your stabilizer. You may not need my box. Your machine may do a basting box automatically for you, but it's there in case you need it. The next colour, and I'm just going to go to view, and I'm going to turn off the grid lines. I like to look at my embroideries without the grid lines in place, although they're very useful and we'll turn them back on in a minute. Here we can see the main section of the embroidery with the buttonholes going across the centre bit. Then we have these buttonhole surrounds. Now I had problems with the buttonhole surrounds and I have changed them, so they will be updated in the next week or so for all the designs within the Royal Heirloom collection. They were two separate stitch outs with a little trim to be done between them. Now I've done them in such a way that it all stitches out in one go, so there's less trimming and it's a neater finish. The next outline is in another colour and it surrounds the flowers and the leaves, but you may want to use the same colour for all of this, and instead of using two different colours. And then finally we have these eyelets and knots that go into the centre of the flowers and make a border around the buttonholes. Now what we're going to do is, I don't need the outline alignment stitches, so I'm going to select the first two colours, go to the Home tab and delete them, and then bring back everything else onto my hoop. Then I'm going to go to View and I'm going to turn the grid back on. Go to Home, and I like to use a box select and surround the embroidery. Now when you're moving embroidery in this particular embroidery software, there's two ways to do it. You can use the arrows on your keyboard and nudge it across, but sometimes that can take rather a long time to do it. So you can actually grab the whole thing and just move it across yourself. But the important thing to do is to zoom in and to make sure that this arrow here is still sitting on the main central horizontal line. I'm going to bring the screen back out, and then I'm going to copy that design. Then I'm going to paste it. And it always lands on top of itself, so be careful. If you can make the mistake of thinking it hasn't pasted and do two pastes, which are not, it's not a good idea. Keeping that still selected, I'm going to magnify the page and zoom into this area here, and I'm going to align these knots here so that they look exactly the same as they do here. Now for this I am going to nudge the arrow key down that's on my keyboard, just a little section out there, and that's perfect. Let's zoom out and see how that looks. And as you can see, the two designs alongside each other create a lovely diamond effect. Now I am going to move this over a little bit, because theoretically this flower here needs to be on the vertical central line, and I'm going to zoom in again and nudge down and make sure that I'm on the horizontal central line. So I'll come back out, click outside the box and copy again. Now I've done it wrong, haven't I? So what do you do in this instance? I've gone and copied onto my clipboard down here both designs, so if I paste those on, they won't fit on the hoop. The trick for that is to actually disable the first four colours, so only the second design shows. Copy that and we're back to having one on the clipboard. I'm going to click that button there, bring everything up and paste a new design on. I can see it's gone on because I've now got 12 colours. I'm going to move that across, and again I'm going to magnify it and go in and do my alignment. So I'm checking on that arrow here, making sure it's on this line and making sure that the distance between these knots is exactly the same as it is within the design. Move that out just a tiny bit so that the tips are just touching each other. And so that is what you can do with this month's freebie. Well, actually it's July's freebie. I do apologise that it's been in late. Now, there are two very important things to remember when you're editing embroidery designs. Now, I've been a bit lax and I'm not practicing what I preach. When you start playing around, you really should. You see, I'm still on the original design. I should have copied and pasted it onto this blank page here, but I didn't. But the important thing is to not save it under the name of the original file. You've got to save it as something different. Otherwise, you've lost the original. Where are we? Where are we? July. And in this software, it's creating. I don't need the S. The S on my names shows that it's got outlined alignment stitches, and I'm just going to put combo on the end, and it's saving it to the VP4 format, which I use for my Husqvarna Epic machines. So it's saved under a new name and the original file is still safe. So that is very important. You should always do this, not do as I do. And the other important thing to do is to look at all these colours. That's an awful lot of times to change the thread on your machine. So we go up here and we colour sort them, and that brings it down to 4. And if we just have a little look, bring it back down here, and we can see it stitches that one out, and there we are. And so that is your design. Now if you were going to do these two colours in the same, you could you could merge them. This merges this colour here into that one, and now we only have 3. But obviously it will go across and do the first one, and then it will come back and do the other edging. And that can be done in metallic thread quite successfully. I tend to turn the speed down on my embroidery machine when I do that. Now I'm going to show you my stitch out of this design. You can obviously do something very similar to this on your embroidery machine if it has that facility, and I will do a little video to show you how I combine this design on my Husqvarna Epic 2, but that will come in another video shortly. Now I'm over at my Epic 2 and I've hooped up a layer of stitch and tear in my large hoop, and as you can see I've used these clips, and then I've used 2 cut-offs from previous stitch outs, laid them side by side and attached them with a temporary adhesive spray, and on the top here we have some freshly pressed silk dupion, and I'm going to stitch out the design now that we've put it all together. I'm going to go for slightly different colours. I'm going to go for pinks and coffees, but not too dark a pink, because I think that shouts. I'll show you when the first stitch out's complete. The first colour is 1120, which is pale pink, and I'm going to do the next 2 colourways in cocoa cream, which is 1838. And I think this is a beautiful colour, and it complements this pink quite nicely. When I first went to stitch this design out, I made a few mistakes, I must admit. And I use this really bright pink, and it's not me, is it? I mean, those of you that know me know this is not quite right. I also discovered a flaw on the buttonhole surround here. So I dismissed that design, and I went back to the drawing board, or back to my digitising software, and I've changed the way these buttonholes stitch out. This area, this went round twice, and then the inner ring went round twice, but I've now put a little bar in here so that it stitches the whole buttonhole out in one go. Now as you look at this, because I stitched the surround of the leaves and flowers and the surround in the buttonhole in the same colour, these are double rows of stitches, these are only single, but this section I've redone a second time. So if you were going to use different colours, it doesn't matter, but if you were going to do the surrounds for the buttonholes and the flowers in the same colour, you may want to do this stitch out again. And this very pale sort of cappuccino or creme brulee, I think it's called, emphasises the colours, and having a darker pink in the centre for these small elements is better than having it, as I did in the first one, for the larger elements in the design. Well, that's my personal preference. So obviously it has to come out of the hoop, and you have to do all the trimming on the back and remove the stabiliser, which I'm not going to do today. Whoops, clips going everywhere. But you need to cut the buttonholes if you're going to place ribbons, thread ribbons in and out. So let's pretend that I've done everything. Now I always start at the end of a buttonhole and go halfway up and then do the other side. then that eliminates the possibility of cutting into the ends. So I'm quickly going to do these. Now I'm quite pleased with this colour choice. I mean, it's lovely for a little girl, but obviously if you do it in blues and silvers or maybe golds, it doesn't have to be. It can be for a boy But I would, as I'm always trying to emphasise, just don't take a design which has got lots of little elements in it and stitch it all out in one colour. It's bland. It doesn't pop. I know tone on tone was very popular, and I loved it when I first got into machine embroidery, but really it doesn't make the embroidery come alive. And even if it's a very subtle change of colour, it helps it pop, as does a slightly darker colour. Now, are these all cut? Well, we'll find out. Now, I'm always searching online for new tricks, and I came across these. It's called Fang. I actually got it because I was working on my sticky hoops, but that's for another video. It's got a little point on one end, and it's got this little bit here, which I thought would be great for scraping the tiny little corners of the hoop when I was removing all the sticky stabiliser. And it's also got an eye here, so I thought, well, I wonder if we can use it like a bobbin. I mean, obviously, when I normally thread ribbon through, I use that bobbin, but let's see how this works. Now, I would like to encourage you all to share with the group. That one's not cut. That's a good start, isn't it? Share with me or within my group forum, if you're a member of that, new notions and stabilisers and things that you've found. There you are. No, that one's not cut either. That one is. And it's just so much more manageable. Well, they came in a pack of 4, so horrible bright colours, but it's a bit stiff because obviously I haven't removed the stabiliser. And you just have to twist it all. And this is like a I'll think of the word in a minute. It's like a binding that we used to use, and I can't think. It's got a French name. You know, my memory isn't great, but when I'm on camera, it's even worse. Somebody will tell me in the comments what it is, what it's called. I'm sure it begins with B. So you obviously, if you're doing this, you need an equal number of buttonholes. And I just think it gives a lovely... I'm hurrying this. I mean, obviously, cutting is not something that you do want to hurry. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's got a different name in the States from what it's got in the UK here. Whew. We are suffering here in the UK with some very high temperatures and high levels of humidity. Most of you are from America, and I know they wouldn't bother you, these temperatures, but we don't have air conditioning, so when it's up in the high temperatures, we suffer a bit, and one's brain doesn't function either. So I hope while I was concentrating on that, you were able to see what I was doing. So there is my finished design. And that obviously is the one that's had the double stitches around the leaves and flowers, but this end we've only got one. So that is the endless design. If you would like to collect this design, then please go to my website and click on forum. You'll find it on the main menu bar, and join my group forum. Every month, members of the group forum get a free design, and I've been trying this year to introduce a new technique
with a video like this to teach them how to use the design. Now, obviously, group forum members only get this. These designs are only available for a little while until the next one comes along. But if you email me, I shall send it to you. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this has inspired you. And don't forget, let me know what new things you've discovered on the internet which help you in your sewing room. Bye for now.